In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to work in Tunisian crochet panels. I have patterns that I sell on Etsy and Ravelry that use this technique. In this technique, you can use a regular length crochet hook. So if you don't like to use the long Tunisian crochet hooks, then you will enjoy these type of patterns. This is a technique I did a lot when I was little and I first started learning how to Tunisian crochet, and I didn't own a long Tunisian crochet hook. Alright, so if you're following one of my patterns and you completed panel 1, which is just regular rows of Tunisian crochet, so at the end of panel 1 it will say to chain 1 and turn and then single crochet all the way across. So we will be chaining 1, turning and putting a single crochet over each of these V-stitches along the edge, and there is 1 per row of your panel. So since I did 10 rows for my first panel, I will be doing 10 single crochets all the way across. I will show you how to do that. So chain 1 and then turn, and now we will be putting a single crochet in each of these stitches all the way across. So here is my first stitch. Just insert my hook and work a single crochet and repeat that all the way across. And this not only adds to the design of our pattern, but it's also helping us get back to the right side of our work so we can start working the next panel. Alright, now the instructions will tell you to chain a certain amount of stitches and then turn your work. For the tutorial, I'll chain 6 and then turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we are turning our work. And what we are doing is the first row of the next panel, the foundation row for that. So you are just working a regular Tunisian crochet foundation row. So you're going to pull up a chain and each chain across, skipping the first chain. Oops, my work turned on me. So make sure the right side of your work is facing you. Alright, so I pulled up a loop in each chain across, skipping the first chain. But now we need to attach our foundation row for our next panel to the previous one. And to do that, we are going to work a join stitch to join them together. So what you need to do is find that first single crochet, and they will look like these stitches along the edge. Insert your hook into that, and then yarn over and pull up a loop. And that is how you work a join stitch. And then after you do that, you work a return pass, but the return pass for the second panel and on is different from a regular Tunisian crochet return pass, which you do work on panel 1. So the only difference is you do not start by yarning over and pulling through 1. You are going to yarn over and pull through 2 all the way across. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. All the way across till you only have 1 loop left on your hook. So now I just completed the foundation row, which is row 1 of panel 2. So what we are doing is working regular Tunisian crochet rows, but then we are attaching it to the previous panel through these single crochets that we made along the edge. Alright, so then what you would do if you're following directions for a pattern, you will work your second row and do whatever stitches that row requires. I'm just going to work Tunisian simple stitches all the way across my row for the tutorial. And so after you work your row of stitches, then you work a join stitch. So you just find the next single crochet, insert your hook into that, yarn over and pull up a loop. And then you work that special return pass by yarning over and pulling through 2 all the way across. So now I just completed my second row of my next panel, and you can see how my work is connected to my previous work. I will show you another row of that. So if you're following a pattern, do the stitches that that row of that panel asks for. I'm just going to Tunisian simple stitch all the way across. So then at the end of every row, after you work panel 2 and on, you work your stitches across that row, then work a join stitch to connect it to the previous panel, and then your return pass of yarning over and pulling through 2 all the way across. And you keep doing that all the way up to the last single crochet. And you know you did everything correctly when you have the same amount of rows for your first panel and to your next panels all the way along. So I am going to work the rest of these rows till I meet back up here, and then I am going to show you how to do my next panel of Tunisian crochet so you can see that again, and then when I'm done with that, I'm going to show you how we bind off the panels. So I will meet you back when I am up here. So I just finished working all my rows of my next panel. So I'm going to show you again that after every panel, after our first one, you chain 1 and turn, and then single crochet along the edge. So I will show you how to do that again. So you chain 1 and then turn, and now we will be putting a single crochet in each of these stitches all the way across this edge. And then once you're finished doing that, you chain the number of stitches required for the next panel. And again, for the tutorial, I'm going to do 6. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And turn your work. And then pull up a loop in each chain across, skipping the first chain. Now we're starting row 1 of our next panel, which is the foundation row. So after you finish pulling up all your loops, then you work the join stitch in the next single crochet. So insert your hook through that, yarn over, and pull up a loop. And now we do that special return pass again by yarning over and pulling through 2 all the way across. So now I just completed the foundation row for my next panel. So now I'm on to row 2. So then you follow the instructions for row 2 and work those stitches all the way across. And then you work your join stitch in the next single crochet, and then your return pass. And then you repeat that for every row all the way up. And you work however many panels the pattern asks you to. And when you are done working all the panels, then we are going to bind off. So I am going to complete this third panel that I did here, and then I will show you how to bind off all of our stitches. So I just completed all of my panels, and now it's time to bind off our work. And to do that, we are going to bind off all of our stitches as normal for Tunisian crochet, but then when we get to this section here where we did a single crochet along the edges of our panels, this is where it can get a little tricky. And so I will bind off my stitches and show you how to do that part. So you bind off your stitches as normal by working them and then slipping them under the loop to the right. And now I'm at that part where we worked a single crochet. So what it will look like is, kind of looks like a little knot there, and then we have some strands coming out on each side of that. So we are going to pull up a loop on each side of that knot. So just pull up one strand, insert your hook, and then yarn over, pull up a loop, and then slip that stitch under this loop to the right. And that's all you have to do. And then do that again on the other side of that knot on the edge. Just pull up a strand, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then slip that under the loop to the right. And now I am back to regular stitches to bind off. Just binding those off as normal, and then I will show you again how to work that area where you get the single crochet you worked along the edge of your panel. So again, here it looks like a little knot on the edge of our work, and then there's a strand here and here. So you pull up one strand, insert your hook through that, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then slip that under the loop to the right. And then do it again on the other side of the knot. Insert your hook under that strand, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then slip that under the loop to the right. Now I am back to regular stitches to bind off. And now I am at the last stitch of my first panel, and those are always worked by going through the 2 loops on the edge, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then slip that under the loop to the right. And then you would cut your yarn and weave in your ends. And that is how you work my Tunisian crochet panels.